In this video, we'll learn about the symmetry of a parabola. When we talk about the axis of symmetry of a parabola, we're referring to something involving the vertex of that parabola. So remember that a parabola has a general shape that looks like a U shape, either right side up or upside down. And remember that the vertex of that parabola is this point where the parabola turns around. And what we might notice about this shape is that if instead of just looking at that single point, if instead what we do is draw a vertical line that goes through that point, then we have a symmetry between the left-hand side and the right-hand side of this line. If we were to take this parabola and flip it around that line, then the parabola would look the same after we did that, and that's what we call an axis of symmetry. One way we can apply the fact that parabolas have this axis of symmetry is in a problem like this. Let's suppose that we have this quadratic function whose vertex is at 4, -3, and suppose also that when we plug 1 into this function we get 6. So we can't get a great graph of this function, but we do know some information. We know that if we plug in 4, we get -3, so somewhere around here is the point 4, -3. And we know that that's the vertex of our parabola. We also know that at x equals 1, we get y equals 6, so this point 1, 6 is also on our parabola. And since 4, 3 is the vertex, that's enough information for us to get a rough picture of what this thing looks like. It's going to be something like this. And again, we know that this vertex has this axis of symmetry. So how does that help us figure out what f of 7 is? Well, it just so happens that the number 1 is 3 units to the left of the number 4, and that the number 7 is 3 units to the right of the number 4. So that means by symmetry, when we rotate this parabola around, the point 1, 6 is going to end up at x equals 7, and the y value is going to stay the same, so that means that it turns out that f of 7 is equal to 6. So that's an example of how we can use the symmetry of a parabola to answer an interesting question.